Hello, it's Jim Hutchins for the Jerusalem Connection Spot Report for this week. I think it's safe to say that after this week, our nation is in a state of angst, of anxiety, of uncertainty, not knowing where to turn, not knowing where the answers are. And that's primarily as a result of what's taken place in the killing of these two black men, one in Louisiana, one in Minnesota, and the massacre of these policemen in Dallas, Texas. And I think we need to recognize that we're just experiencing a tad, if you will, of what the world is experiencing, of the bigotry and the hatred and the evil that is pervasive throughout the world. Christians being beheaded wherever. Israel threatened by thousands of missiles from Hezbollah in the north and another war from Hamas in the south. Iran saying just a matter of time before they'll wipe Israel off the map with their nuclear capability. And yet we're experiencing this, and it's his home. So what do we do? What do we do? What's the answer? Well, all the answers I've heard thus far are sorry answers. They're political answers to spiritual problems. What we face in this country are spiritual problems. Heart condition problems. The scripture says the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Desperately wicked. Who could know it? All humanity is plagued with the deceitful heart. And it's being played out before our very eyes. What's the answer to it? How can we come together? What's the source of our unity? Well, it's not politically answered. It's not economically, it's not diplomatically answered. It's spiritually answered. You give a spiritual answer to spiritual problems. That's what we're facing. Black Lives Matter, they face spiritual problems. That's a spiritual issue. The church's lethargy and the departure from the faith on the part of the white churches is a spiritual condition. I heard a group of pastors the other day say, what we need is intercessory prayer for revival. Well, I believe that. I believe that's important. Revive. That means that there is a restoration of life to something that has become dead. Reviving something. Atheists aren't revived, they need to be born again. Christians, evangelicals, the sheep, their pastors, the shepherds need to be revived. Where does that come from? That comes from an emphasis on Jesus. Jesus is the only unifying factor that can bring us together. I pray for revival. I do pray for revival. There's to be a gathering next week and next Saturday on the mall in Washington, D.C. They're expecting 1 million people to come together and pray for our nation. I believe in that. Revival. But let me just say this. If revival comes, that is just a speed bump to slow down what's coming. It's a prolonging of the inevitable. The book of Revelation is God's last word to his people. And I believe that every evangelical pastor ought to be preaching from the book of Revelation because that's what's coming. It's the monumental disaster and devastation that's going to plague this world when God comes against all those who oppose him and everything, all false religions, all the armies. They'll be put down. And then Jesus reigns supreme. The Prince of Peace reigns. Peace comes when the Prince of Peace, only when the Prince of Peace reigns. Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no man comes into the Father except by me. That's the only way this unity is going to come about. It's not going to be political unity. It's not going to be economic unity. It's not going to be racial unity until we come together around Jesus There is none other name given among men whereby we must be saved. None other name under heaven given among men whereby we must be saved. Jesus must be the one. And there must be an emphasis on him. This is a spiritual problem that we face in this country and in this world, and it needs a spiritual solution. Jesus is that solution. Till next week, Od Ki Yavo Shiloh, or until Messiah comes, Yivareka Yahweh. Yahweh bless you, bless those you love, and bless those who love you.